Once upon a time, there was a terrible hunger in the animal kingdom. All the animals were thin and weak because they didn't have enough food to eat. But the birds were different. They still looked healthy, full, and strong. They didn't seem hungry at all. The tortoise noticed this and became very curious. How do the birds find food when everyone else is hungry? He wondered. So, he decided to ask them. Where do you get food? He asked the birds. But the birds didn't want to tell him. They knew Tortoise could be sneaky, and they worried he might play a trick on them. Tortoise promised he would not trick them, saying, "Please, I just want to eat like you. I promise to be good." Finally, after thinking it over, the birds decided to tell him. "There is a big feast up in the sky," they told him. "There is so much food, enough for everyone who can get there." Tortoise was excited. But then he remembered something. He couldn't fly. The feast was in the sky, and he had no wings. But Tortoise had an idea. "If each of you gives me one feather, I could make my own wings," he said. "Then I can fly up to the feast with you." The birds thought about it and agreed. One by one, each bird gave Tortoise a feather. He carefully attached each feather to his arms and back until he had made himself a pair of wings. Tortoise flapped his new wings, and they worked. Before they left, the birds reminded him of a tradition. "Everyone who goes to the feast in the sky must pick a special name," they said. "What name do you want us to call you?" Tortoise thought for a moment and then said, "Call me all of you." The birds thought that was a little strange, but they agreed, and off they flew together to the feast in the sky. When they arrived, the hosts of the feast welcomed them warmly. The table was covered with delicious food, more than anyone had ever seen. The host smiled and said, "This food is for all of you." Tortoise grinned, remembering his new name. "Yes," he said, stepping forward. "I am all of you, so the food is mine." And he began eating everything on the table, not leaving a single crumb for the birds. The birds were shocked and upset, but Tortoise didn't stop there. Soon the hosts brought out drinks and said, "These are for all of you." Tortoise quickly reminded the birds, "I am all of you, so the drinks are also mine." And he drank all the drinks, not leaving a single sip for the birds. Now the birds were very angry. They had helped Tortoise, and he had tricked them and eaten all the food. When the feast was over, the birds decided it was time to teach Tortoise a lesson. They pulled off all the feathers they had given him, leaving him with no wings. Now Tortoise was stuck in the sky with no way to get home. Tortoise was scared. He looked down and thought about how far he would have to fall. Then he had an idea. He asked the crow to send a message to his wife on the ground. "Please tell her to put all the soft things in our house, like pillows and blankets, outside on the ground. That way I can land safely when I jump down." The crow agreed to take the message, but was still mad at Tortoise for being so greedy. So when Crow got to Tortoise's wife, he changed the message. "Your husband says to put all the hard things outside," he told her. Tortoise's wife didn't know what was going on, but she followed the instructions. She gathered hard things like rocks, sticks, and pots and spread them outside. Up in the sky, Tortoise saw his wife getting things ready below and thought he would land safely. So, he closed his eyes and jumped. But when he landed, he didn't fall onto soft pillows or blankets. Instead, he hit the hard things his wife had put out, and his shell cracked into many pieces. It took the best healer in the kingdom to put his shell back together again, but it was never smooth. Tortoise's shell had bumpy, cracked lines all over it. And that's why, to this very day, Tortoise has a bumpy, cracked shell, as a reminder of what happens when you're too greedy and trick your friends.